people watching later, it's Labor Day, which is a holiday here in the U.S. And Krista's off glamping, and she will be for like another two weeks, another week, 2 weeks, something like that. So it's going to be like another week without Krista. But we're here, despite all odds against it. But we made it. There's a link in the description that goes to the index of stories. We were actually fairly well organized. I was able to make a thumbnail. Like, we're actually here. It's really organized. And somebody sent us a super thanks last week. And I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. Thank you, super thanks. Thanker person. So we're here for government, and
there's no and today.
It's just government.
I mean, we're just doing one at a time.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go through all the section. Yeah. So I guess it's just gonna be one long video this week. You'll have to use the chapter marks, which will probably get added in a few days. Everybody that's here, you should let your friends know that we're here, because
send them a link.
That's in the name. You made a joke. I think that's good. It's on the community tab. Where the hell is it? Maybe. Oh, it's a new month. Oh my God. Because we're doing it on September 1st. YouTube is like, oh, you don't need to know what happened last month.
Notice the banks are doing that on the statements. They're trying not to show me just a running total of what I've spent. It's like, oh, that was last month's bill. Well, let's forget that ever happened.
I don't think that that's a really good thing to do. Oh, Bushy 117. Thank you, Bushy, or 1147, I think. Thank you. It's awesome. So chat, follow along and keep up. And there's a lot of stuff going on here today. Like a lot of stuff. It's worrying, but also interesting.
Well, but this is not normal. But I started off with the good news. The best news, maybe. The best we're going to give you today, at least.
Michigan Supreme Court rules unrestricted phone searches violate the Fourth Amendment. This is another one of those, like, I always go on the long-winded diatribe every time one of these comes up, which is, isn't this obvious? Why was this not obvious?
It seems obvious to me, but it took a while for a judge to see it that way. So the idea here is that they take your phone, they dump your phone, which is literally everything, even the stuff you've deleted, which, that's its own problem. But this judge is like, hey, if you write a warrant to go to your house, you have to write down every single thing that you're looking for, specifically where in that house it might be, what it is. You're not allowed to take anything else. So why would we treat phones differently?
That's weird. That's almost like using your brain. And it seems like that should have been that way the whole time. And the government, I remember a time when it was the government can only do these specific things that are codified in a document, and everything else is your freedom, except for these tiny little things that are carved out. And somehow the script has been flipped, and now it's just like, oh, we were not told we couldn't do that, so we're just going to do it.
Also known as the 10th Amendment. And we have some news that won't surprise anybody, but it is now official, and that is the CHIPS Act. It's not gone necessarily, but it is being transmuted into something entirely different.
The TechSpot headline is the U.S. seizes control of the $7.4 billion semiconductor fund called Biden-era nonprofit illegal. So this was a company, a nonprofit organization, really, that was in charge of doling this out. And the new administration has decided the way that they're going to do this is if you want the money, they want non-voting interest in your company, which it's really interesting, I think. It's a really interesting way to do it. Because on the one hand, it's like, oh my God, socialism. But I don't think that's really like, if you look at the handouts, especially like with ISPs have been handed more money than the CHIPS Act money to the tune of multiple billions of dollars. And they've basically just stolen from the taxpayers. Almost all of the companies, the broadband companies that receive tax, they didn't do anything with it. They just stole it. So
they did point out some really suspicious stuff that nonprofit did, and some ties that it had that probably weren't in everybody's best interest. Now, will this be in everybody's best interest? Who can say? We haven't really done this before, but I guess we're going to. And they like the idea so much that they are not going to limit it to technology, it seems. Well, I mean, this is a different kind of technology, a very specific kind of technology that one could argue. They make the quote in here, and it's like, yeah, they're basically another arm of the government. And I'm surprised no one wasn't off camera saying, you're not supposed to say that. We're supposed to pretend that's not true.
CNBC headline is Trump's Pentagon is weighing equity stakes in defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, says Lutnick. Again, the federal government has been ripped off IMHO as a taxpayer to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars over the years by a lot of defense contractors. Maybe, is this a path to accountability? I kind of doubt it, but, you know, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Not sure that's where we should be investing our money, though. We already have a lot of weapons. We have so many weapons, we just give them away.
It's really, and see, that's the thing that's also crazy about all this is if you look at like how Elon Musk has been doing his thing, like he's gotten a lot of government subsidies, but he's also gotten a lot of results. And you remember SLA, the space launch people, and it's like, oh, we're not going to go with reusable rockets. That's looking like a really moronic decision at this point.
And the U.S.-China trade war is still simmering, I suppose. And there are some power plays on both sides. Of course, we've got the sanctions, but China has the rare earth metals, and we can't really replace those.
I've heard Greenland has some too.
Well, we're working on that, don't worry. But for now, we're just going to demand that we be given our share.
Trump says China has to give the U.S. magnets or face a 200% tariff. And this reads more like a tantrum than international diplomacy. I mean, I remember when Nixon went to China, something about pandas. This seems different.
The quote really is something like, yeah, if they don't give us magnets, I don't know, maybe we'll do 200% sanctions. So like this was an off-the-cuff comment. But we've seen off-the-cuff comments become policy in the recent past. So
I'm really disappointed that this article didn't tie in the de minimis has sunset. And so randos like you and me are no longer going to be able to order from basically anywhere. So that seems like that could have a negative impact as well. And that's not, or maybe that's illegal now. There was also the court ruling that said they can't do that. So do I get a refund on the tariffs I've already paid? Like what? Yeah.
Well, we learned that the UK is back down over Apple, but just Apple. All the other companies, they're going to do what they want with. But Apple got a special pass, and it seems like maybe, of course, we got 4chan and what was the other one?
Kiwi Farms.
Kiwi Farms. We're going to have that legal battle. But these companies don't exist overseas. So can they be bullied from overseas? It seems like the government might be on their side.
Trump threatens tariffs on countries that discriminate, quote unquote, against U.S. tech. This is written like he's talking specifically about UK bullying Apple, but there's so many more examples of that go back more than a decade.
Yeah, I mean, the EU fining big tech they've been doing that. And it seems like big tech just sort of became comfortable with it because they were sort of like, yeah, we know what we're doing. So we would pay you these fines, but maybe in the future.
Do they though? Do we know what they're doing?
Well, I mean, they do. Let me put it a different way. They know that they're more guilty than they're paying for it, most likely. So they're getting a bargain.
Kind of like, who's paying the tariffs again? Oh, I am. I have to pay for the tariffs on the crap that I import.
And government statistics are now in question because we've always known that they were being faked at opportunistic times. But now it's like, okay, we just throw them away sometimes because it's like, no, that's fake. But it's like, well, wait a minute. If it's fake, why did you publish it in the first place? If you're going to revise it 2 months later, what's the point of it? How can we be sure about any of it? This is, I guess, designed to help that, but I'm not sure exactly how.
This reads just like an incoherent fever dream. The headline is the White House is going to put government statistics on the blockchain. Yeah, we don't know why either. There's not actually a good plan for this. And if you read this, it's clear that all the people involved don't have any idea. But you know what actually would be a good blockchain idea? That's chain of custody of those figures. So chain of custody is the best way I can think to describe it. So when the jobs person reports the jobs, it's like, where did this data come from? I was like, oh, these numbers that I'm collating were all certified by these people in industry, or these people in government, or these people in these other offices. And so you can look at the blockchain and see the chain of who contributed what to the ultimate statistic. That seems like that would be useful, because then there would be accountability. Remember when like engineers would certify bridges? Like when somebody builds something and an engineer has to sign off on something, there's a record of that in your local courthouse. And if something goes wrong, guess what? That engineer's liable, and often has to carry insurance, so that if something bad happens with an engineering project that they've approved, that there's an insurance fund to cover the fallout from the mistakes. Like, those all seem like good things. That's not what they're talking about here at all. Like, not even a little bit.
I suppose one positive is, because it will be an entry in the blockchain, when you do revise it 2 months later, it becomes very easy to compare the two rather than the record just changing. So, I don't know. Probably easier ways to do that. And the FTC is stepping in, and they're telling companies like Apple, hey, listen, Apple, when foreign governments come and tell you these things, check with us first, because just disregard what they say.
FTC warns the tech giants not to bow to foreign pressure on encryption, unless you're 4chan or Kiwi Farms, in which case they don't care.
But when it comes time for them to pressure you on encryption themselves, I'm sure that will change.
I wanted to also, just if you're an author of these kinds of things and you're watching our program, these stories, anytime something like this comes up, you should always mention Salt Typhoon and the U.S. legally mandated backdoors in telecommunications equipment, because those have come to bite us in the butt constantly. And this is a perfect lead-in for our next story,
which is an old story, but the number keeps changing.
The FBI says China's Salt Typhoon hack resulted in hacks to at least 200 U.S. companies. Now, this is the T-Mobile and AT&T hack that we've talked about, but using the access to the telecom network, guess what? You can springboard off of that and get into other companies, because you have private phone calls you could potentially wiretap. And it's like, oh, it's a lawful wiretap. The phone system infrastructure doesn't know the difference between hackers and law enforcement. And so law enforcement being able to wiretap calls for officials or whatever, it looks exactly the same. And so you can use that to get access where you shouldn't. And that is exactly what happened in this case.
And there's a story that we've seen about 1 billion times before. It's probably true. It's probably always true. Probably always true in reverse too, but I'm not sure why they marched it out right now.
Russian hackers targeting critical infrastructure in IT systems, according to the FBI. Yes. This is water control, power grid, power distribution, substations. There's a lot of stuff on the internet that probably shouldn't be on the internet, and that's what the hackers are looking for. There's a lot of red teams running like simulated. It's like, here's a power grid out in rural Montana, and it's not really. It's just a simulation. But then it's like, oh, look, there's a lot of foreign nation states that are really interested in our power distribution node in rural Montana.
Certainly more than Russia. China's definitely in there. Russia, Israel for sure, right? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of names, probably a lot of different. They're probably bumping into each other in there. It's all asses and elbows in the critical infrastructure.
It's the Spider-Man meme of hackers, and it's like, oh, those are we don't worry about them. They're fine.
And Hertz has made people upset by bringing full AI into screwing you out of money if you rent a car from them. And it's gotten so much heat that Congress has decided to turn it into a headline.
Congress wants answers for Hertz's AI rental damage system. Basically, they take a high-resolution 360-degree wrap picture of the car before and after you have it, and so minor highway damage can be. It's like, oh, there's a tiny, tiny ding on this side now that wasn't there before. That'll be $300, please.
So they're saying that AI to help with that, okay. But AI where a human is not even involved, which apparently they have some information that Hertz is like that, they're saying that's not okay. And something needs to be done. I don't know what, but something. Have a high-profile hearing and then never talk about it again, probably is what's going to happen.
We're like halfway through the episode, but I'm getting ready to lose my scroll back buffer. So let's thank the people that are giving us money. Zblats, I'll try to keep up. You are trying to keep up. And in fact, you have kept up so much that, there's like, I'm getting ready to lose my buffer. So thank you. Vic Viper with $20. Good Lord. My donation to the Church of the Inner Monologue. You must keep the NIMS at bay. Nvidia inferencing microservice?
Nomos.
A NOMO.
We've switched to Nomos.
Okay. Yeah, good job there. No, NOMO. Let's see.
She's not a Nomo.
Oh, okay. Indiana cornbread nerd. Laboring on the day while the AI and the government still allows it. I don't know if this constitutes labor.
Is Indiana cornbread sweet cornbread or savory cornbread? That's the critical question.
You know, there's two classes of sweet cornbread, and one of them is basically cake, and I can't.
What's the other one?
It's like in the middle. It's still kind of savory, but the one in the middle is like Cracker Barrel's sweet cornbread, and then there's like the dry like cornbread, and then there's the one that's just cake.
How about cornbread with corn in it? Where do you stand on that?
That is not. That's more toward the cake dessert type.
You don't
cornbread.
like that? See, that was always savory when I had.
Empty wig. Thank you for the news, guys. No, thank you. And oh my god, I lost one. Oh my god. Sorry, random other person with $5.
Just do it between the stories.
Okay.
Why wait?
Thank you.
You got to give the VIP people, or the donators need to get VIP staging for all that. I had Doge. Remember Doge? Doge was every headline for like 2 weeks, and then Elon Musk left, and then we haven't really been talking about it. But apparently they're still doing stuff. However, people in charge of Social Security deny this. Do I trust the people in charge of Social Security? No. Do I trust Doge? No. Do I trust the people hating on Doge? No. As usual, information gridlock.
The headline is Doge uploaded live copy of Social Security databases to vulnerable quote unquote cloud server, says whistleblower. The Social Security Administration has said, no, it's not a vulnerable server. It was just a server on Azure. And it was on their instance of Azure, not a public instance of Azure. So it should be okay. But the thing that this article fails to do is tie it in with all of the other whistleblower reports of people in Doge improperly handling information, period, on their laptops and like the login accounts and like whatever happened with the whole like accounts seem to be logging in from a different region as soon as they're created. Like there's a lot of worrying information security reports that came out of all of that. And so with this, it's like, this is another thing that's maybe not good.
Having 2 copies of it does seem to increase the surface area.
Yeah.
I mean, any way you slice it, that's going to be the case.
Also, why is that in a format that you can just, that would be like having a list of all Gmail users as like a flat file. And it's like, why does this exist? Like you shouldn't, that should be so unwieldy that you can't just move it around.
Well, one thing that is moving around is the secretive space plane. I think by now it's up there. And one of its missions is to try to do something other than GPS for tracking location. U.S.
Space Force's secretive X-37B space plane will test quantum alternative to GPS navigation. This isn't the first time we've reported on this. This is basically an ultra-accurate accelerometer that uses quantum interference or something in a regular silicon package. And so it can get its GPS coordinates in a known good location, and then based on exacting constant, precise measurements of its acceleration in all 3 dimensions, it knows exactly where it is.
Which, that'd be great, I guess. But if you start making mistakes in that chain, they compound quickly.
Yes.
So maybe quantum power is enough. That's what they're testing. And Microsoft has a little problem right now, a little PR problem, and it's not getting any better. In fact, it seems to be escalating quite a bit, and they're upset about it, and they've turned to their partners in the government and said, hey, do something about this.
This is kind of the tail end of the story. The start of the story is much more interesting, but the most recent development is Microsoft has asked the FBI to track Gaza protests after activists showed up on kayaks outside of the homes of the CEO and the president, because their homes have, a water feature.
Lake houses. That wasn't their primary homes, I don't think. Probably a vacation home. But yeah, they had some signs. They had some kayaks. And I think if you're far enough out in the water, they got no say in that, right?
And some of the protesters were also employees. Is that right? Or were
I think
employees?
A lot of them were, yeah.
So
they had some bad things to say. And Microsoft says, hey, these people are stalking us. You need to do something about this. We'll see if they do. And if you're in prison, everything is a hustle. your phone calls, your technology use. They give you those little tablets. But one thing that you're supposed to always have access to is your court-related records, because you have to somehow build a case while you're locked up. Well, they don't exactly give you the state of the art these days.
Prisoner laments the reliance on floppy disks for appeals documents, limiting file sizes to 1.44 meg. Prisoners are allowed 20 floppy disks in their cell, but no USB flash drives. Those are banned in New Jersey's jail system. There's only one computer in the library that you have to get special time on in order to transfer things from your lawyers, which come on flash drives, to the floppy disks.
I'm sure the lawyers aren't really considering that. You probably got like a legal aid just dumping everything in there. How many megabytes do you think an average legal case could generate in a lifetime?
Hundreds.
They'd be in the gigabytes for sure, right? Yeah. So if you think about if you had video surveillance, there's no way they could get that.
Terrence, with the last name that YouTube will not tolerate. Thank you for the $2. Linked to friends is a national treasure.
I'm curious now. Well, you know what website would tolerate that username? 4chan. What will 4chan be destroyed?
The BBC headline is 4chan will refuse to pay its daily online safety fines, the lawyer tells the BBC. 4chan and Kiwi Farms have retained the same law firm who are challenging the BBC and saying it's like, oh, no, we require you to verify age in order to, transact whatever.
They say, we don't care about UK. We don't follow your rules.
And they filed a joint lawsuit against the UK because this is exactly what the FTC and the US government have been talking about. Like, don't bow down for the pressure for this. But, 4chan is not Apple. And so no one is going to.
Yeah. No government entity is going to align themselves with 4chan. Yeah. They should. Those are Americans. They should have the same protection as everybody else. But
those are Americans, but also like Picard facepalm meme.
Now, if you didn't know, let me clue you in. Carbon capture and carbon credits is a huge hustle. It's not real. That doesn't really help. You don't trust me? How about you take a look at the German court system?
Cupertino must stop calling Apple Watches carbon neutral, German court has ruled. They looked into it and the German court said, this seems like a scam. You should stop doing this.
Yeah. The manufacturer of your Apple Watch will, in fact, harm the environment. Whatever magic they do on paper doesn't stop that reality. Imagine that. And Denmark is recognizing something we talked about last week, which is no one reads. And maybe they're trying to figure out why aren't people reading? One of the reasons they might not be reading in Denmark, 25% tax on books. Who thought that was a good idea?
Denmark to abolish the VAT on books in an effort to get more people reading and less people pirating books from the internet, because obviously you're just going to download the books from the internet at that point.
Hey guys, let's raise the tax on vegetables. And two stories out of Asia, and they are both related to the addiction to smartphones and kind of the same approach to different degrees.
Japanese city proposes a 2-hour daily limit for smartphone use because there's other things you could be doing, like reading.
Now, unfortunately, this is non-binding suggestion. It has no teeth. And a lot of the responders were like, hey, are you insane? Like, what if I wanted to watch a movie on my phone? That's not enough time. Two might be a little short.
It is really easy to just lean into your phone when South Korea bans phones in school classrooms nationwide.
I forgot to change the scene. Yeah, so basically the same thing, but with schools, we have seen a lot of countries do this.
Indiana Cornbread Nerd says, savory with chili and whole corn kernels as long as they are properly patched.
Patched? Do you understand patching corn?
Mm-mm.
Oh, kernels. He's making a joke. All right, that's the end of section 1.
There was a kind of a feud in the family about how to shuck corn. It was like, if you do it with a knife, you can't cut too much of the bottom of the kernel off. And that was undesirable. And then there was another way of...
What's the other way?
You had a special tool that was like a wire tool, and it would grab the back of the kernel and just rip the kernel off of the thing instead of cutting it off. I thought that way you ended up with more gristle, which was not amazing. Well, congratulations, chat. That is the end of the government section. Somebody should make a note for the timestamps, please.
And business section is kind of short this week.
Yeah, here in America, there's a lot of people that are going on vacation because, today's technically a national holiday.
But our first story is not about America, but it is the same story in America, unfortunately.
Canada's tech market has gone from boom to bust in the last 5 years. And the article talks about other non-tech things like management. Management is also in the crapper. And even if you've got really amazing tech skills, the job of placement and turnover rate is quite low. Or the placement rate is quite low. The turnover rate is kind of high. There have been a lot of layoffs.
Which is a huge reversal from most of human history, where technology existed in this way. And this is the precursor to the other story. This was before the government was asked to get involved, when this was just an internal matter at Microsoft. But it's escalated so much.
Microsoft locks down a building after protesters get inside the president's office. Yeah, this is earlier in the timeline versus the kayaking protesters that showed up at their houses. And then Microsoft screaming uncle with, hey, FBI, please get involved. Schmeed says, note government. Thank you. Thank you for the $10.
Oh, do we get $10 every time we delineate the things? We'll make more sections. It's funny, the Microsoft thing, like when that first came to light, Microsoft was like, oh, they're using Azure for that? Which they're talking about the war in the Middle East. And they're like, well, that would be against the terms of service, but I haven't seen any updates on that.
It turns out it was against the terms of service.
Seems like they're still doing it, as far as I know. Maybe not.
It's hard to know too. I mean, there's so much screeching both ways. It's hard to know, like, are there well-meaning employees that have been caught up in propaganda? Is there, I mean, obviously there's a lot of legitimate human suffering and people that are exploiting that to bad ends. But also like
the evidence is strong.
Yeah. And it's just, is anybody inside Microsoft looking at this and saying, this is maybe like we should distance ourselves from this?
Yeah, they're looking at the line items and they're like, we're making a lot of money. And they don't have to worry about that money getting paid because the American taxpayer pays that. And some bad news if you're rocking the ASRock motherboard, because this has happened before under a different name, but it seems like the same old story.
Like Intel before it, AMD blames motherboard makers for burnt out CPUs. So this article has collected about 130 people, mostly with ASRock motherboards, and AMD is sort of laying the blame at ASRock's feet for especially X3D processors that start to have like explosive decompression. AMD says that this is voltage and other specs that are out of spec, and newer BIOSes are supposed to fix that.
Sucks if you have that.
We've been working on a video on that. We've got like 8 motherboards with the processor, 8 ASRock motherboards, and I haven't been able to replicate this. But I've been trying.
Well, China's been able to replicate something or maybe even innovate, because those H20s that they are now pooping on, they've said, hey, we might not need those for long.
Chinese Alibaba develops a new AI chip to help fill Nvidia void, Wall Street Journal reports. These are on eBay right now. It's a 96 gig GPU for $4,000, but in China, it costs a fraction of that. So if you do the math, that is, I think DDR4 is the LPDDR4 is the spec on that. And so that's going to be quite a bit slower. Much, much, much slower. But, Jensen Huang said that he thinks China is only at most 2 years behind. So in another year or two, they're going to catch up quick.
And if you were passing on the previous generation of smart glasses just because you didn't think they were powerful enough, you wanted that display inside the glasses, you wanted the full features, Meta might actually have what you want.
Meta to unveil Hypernova smart glasses with a display wristband a display and wristband at Connect next month. So the thing that surprised me was this is a display in both eyes, and it is capable of stereoscopic displacement. So like for augmented reality, it can make something seem far away or close based on the stereoscopic nature of using both displays.
And the wristband lets you control it just by throwing gang signs and so forth. So you don't have to have an interface on your phone or whatever. However, they did warn that they're trying to set some expectations here much thicker and larger than the previous generation. All those displays and everything adds a lot of girth and weight.
Listen, at this point, the only benchmark you have to beat is it's smaller than Apple's Vision Pro. And I think the answer is going to be yes, it is going to be smaller than a cinder block strapped to your head.
Might not have the strongest battery life either. And Apple, they were forced to open things up in Europe, and they were forced to let alternative app stores operate. And it took them, how long has it been? Less than a month?
Less than a month.
It took them less than a month to betray that, at least in spirit, if not by the letter of the law.
Apple pulls iPhone torrent app from AltStore PAL in Europe. So Apple said that this wasn't because it was a torrent app, but it was because they had to do country sanctions for the country this developer is from. They canceled their developer certificate, which means they can't do apps at all, more than just pulling this one particular app. But it had the effect of pulling this app even from third-party app stores.
They didn't say what exact sanctions, at least in that article. I don't know if Apple is sharing that. They just said sanctions. We have to stop this. Seems weird because that's the kind of thing they would never have allowed in their app store. But unfortunately, we can no longer shame the Apple people as much as we used to, because we're at the point now, what's the difference, right? What separates the two?
Google is shutting down Android sideloading in the name of security. That's not a perfectly accurate headline, but what Google is doing is making it so that every single application that runs on Android has to be signed. That means they have to know who you are. And so you can sideload an application if you can get them to sign you as a developer so that you can sign your applications. That's still okay. That's a move to be more toward what Apple is doing. With the Apple sideloading in the third-party app stores, Apple still has to know who you are. And if you exhibit bad behavior, Apple can revoke your developer certificate, and then all Apple devices will no longer trust who you are. And Google is setting themselves up to be just like Apple in that regard. But it does close the ability for you as a rando to develop something and load it on your phone yourself, which is annoying and stupid.
Feels like another way to get your identity tied to an account, which is where everything's going. And we've already had this battle on the Steam store, and they said, yeah, you're right. And that's how it's going to be. And they put a little disclaimer on there. Will Amazon follow suit?
You don't actually own that movie you just bought. A new class action lawsuit targets Amazon. I have a feeling this is going to backfire. I predict that this will end in a thing that says, yes, you can use this kind of terminology even for things you don't own, because you've never owned anything, not since the VCR. You've never really technically owned anything. You were never really allowed to use a VCR for any purpose even. So, and this is bad. This is bad for property rights. This is bad for you, the consumer. You should be able to buy something and own it. This is quite a leap toward a world where you're not allowed to own anything by force of law.
And you are allowed to own crypto. The Genius Act has unleashed your ability to do that thing and to transact it in ways that you never could before. But there is a big loser in that equation, and they are crying foul.
City executive warns stablecoin yields could drain bank deposits. Why would they drain bank deposits? Because you can earn interest, and the banks are already earning all of the interest that they possibly can on your money. Like, this is nothing new. Banks are really they've become really, really terrible.
And the interest on a stablecoin doesn't necessarily have overhead to pay a power bill and a lease and a staff. And so they're probably going to beat the rates that you're going to get from your bank.
The bank wasn't willing to give you a reasonable rate anyway. Like, I mean, mom had saved some money, and the interest rate in the 70s was good. And then in the 80s, it went to zero, and it stayed at zero from the 80s on. And it was just like, what? This is really, like, a bank doesn't really give you any reasonable interest rate. A bank is reluctant to give you anything that beats interest. And that was not always the case. When you had cash, the bank would actually give you a reasonable rate that beat interest or beat inflation.
That's because it's no longer designed to, like, They don't care about your deposits anymore.
Yeah.
Although they can get the Fed rate for the deposits under the, it's not fractional reserve anymore. It's abundant reserve, I think is what they call it now. Something like that.
They're able to treat your mortgage the same as if it was cash and that is not good.
It's unfortunate we don't have Krista today because she was an Overwatch. She's an ex-Overwatch player. She delights in crapping on Overwatch 2. Amazingly, it's still out there. It's still going. People are playing it. But Blizzard continues to make terrible, terrible decisions.
Overwatch 2 apologizes after permabanning player for calling someone a noob. But this is only after the internet rose up and said, don't you think this is just a little bit of an overcorrection? And then Blizzard was like, all right, fine, I guess.
They literally tweeted, you can say noob now. Oh, the world we live in, man.
It is really insane that, because the people that complained about noob pointed out that people were calling people noob in other categories. Apparently there's something in Overwatch 2. There's in the help text, it says, oh, if you're a noob, then blah, blah, blah. So it's like, okay, apparently noob is fine, but if you use it super disrespectfully, then it's less fine, I guess.
It's just that they get these overzealous mods who, I don't know, they feel like it's their job to save the internet, and it just becomes a worse situation for everybody.
We have to deal with that on the forum sometimes where somebody doesn't like somebody else and they're like, oh, I'm going to really strictly read this thing that somebody else said. And it's like, you know what? You're both banned.
That can sometimes be counterproductive. Like the whole idea of you always get arrested if both people are fighting. Like somebody started fighting.
Nicholas P. Marino? I don't know. I've butchered your last name. Sorry. Thanks for the $5. Do you have any recommendations for an inexpensive mini PC that I could use as a Plex server, Linux ISO seed box that can handle high bit rate 4K streaming? Pretty much anything recent can handle that. People like to do Intel Quick Sync for that sort of stuff, but the 8-core and beyond AMD machines are uncontested in terms of single thread performance. So you should do a little bit more homework before you and some experimentation before you make a commitment.
Moving on to social media, and this was an unfortunate accident, but it was one that was maybe not unexpected because this guy seemed to be constantly pushing the limits and in every case demanded that it was his right to do so.
Video streaming platform Kick investigated over streamer's death. I remember this. I forgot his name. Sorry.
He's a French name. Raphael Graven.
So he, streamed he died in his sleep. And there's an investigation because there have been other streams where streamers were allowed to, give him money, which would wake him up. And so it turned into like a sleep deprivation stream.
I think it was way worse than that.
And they staged some abuse, or it was real or whatever. Those were investigated. And he said, no, that was part of a promotion. It was fine. But he died early in his sleep.
You could argue that he died doing what he loved. Being abused. I don't understand how is that entertaining once it goes to that level? Like, yeah. I don't want to see people be abused on that level. But I guess if they enjoy it. And Blue Sky is falling foul of the many age verification laws. And they're taking a page out of the book that many like TikTok and all those did. Just turn them off. But in this case, it's not a country.
Blue Sky blocks service in Mississippi over age assurance law. So, yeah, I gotta wonder though. So for the website thing, it's like you have to make sure that the people that are using your website are over a certain age. Wouldn't this extend to every single everything? Like, what about email? It's like, I can't send email unless the email server verifies the recipient's age. Like,
I think you've identified the end game.
You can't actually communicate with it. It's just like, what about DNS? Every DNS query, it's like, is this age verified? Like, what if they're exchanging information that is, you could take that to ad infinitum.
Just like the UK ban, right? It's like, oh, we're banning all of this stuff. And as soon as somebody was like, yeah, but VPNs just get around that. They're like, oh, we're banning that too. You got anything else? We'll keep going.
DNS at this point, ICMP packets. We're going to ban TCP and UDP. You got to do the age verification as part of the packet exchange.
And YouTube, well, everybody's leaning into AI, right? And a lot of people are against it. I don't know. It feels like it's inevitable, but it does suck in a lot of cases. How much is too much? Well, YouTube wanted to avoid all of that argument by doing it secretly.
YouTube's a sneaky AI experiment. It turns out that, like, for shorts and some other things, it sure seems like Google is doing AI upscaling without telling anybody.
Oh, I thought there were some examples here, but yeah. Some people, the most egregious case is a channel that was doing VHS filter on their videos, and this thing cleaned it up. So like they're like, that's the whole point. We're doing VHS filters. They didn't deny it, but they did say that it's not a language model and it's not everywhere, just shorts and just some experimental accounts.
Thank you, J.W. Dickinson. Are you inclined to believe the hype around next generation RDNA? I can't. I'm not going to speculate about unreleased products.
And we have something that we've seen over and over and over. It seems like modern politicians don't know how to engage with the youth. That's kind of a perennial thing. But in the past, I feel like they could use mass media for that. Well, not anymore, because no one cares about mass media. So what do?
Wired's headline is, a dark money group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers to the tune of $8,000 a month. Just don't say that you're getting any money.
Well, it's a little more than just don't say you're getting any money. You also have to let them vet every political guest you might have on your show, and they have to approve any questions you might ask that political guest.
Seems like getting money out of all of this would be a good idea, because all of us are too poor to turn it around monetarily. It's like, oh, let's just pool our money and then have a thing. No, it's like, we should have randos. It's like, Joe the plumber from Toledo, Ohio. Guess what? You're the new Secretary of State. Good luck.
You realize that Joe the plumber was literally a paid political shill, right?
Was he?
You don't remember Joe the
plumber? Why does this keep happening? Yeah, this is the unfortunate world that we live in, chat.
And unfortunately, we live in a world where some people thought they were getting a lot of viewers, and in fact, they were just robots like everything else in the world today.
Twitch responds after viewership dips following a viewbot crackdown. I thought like it was, 30 to 50% of traffic. You know what else is interesting? 30 to 50% of internet traffic now is everybody's AI bots trying to scrape.
That seems low. That's the end of social. Do we have any?
No more, not yet, since J.W. Dickinson.
What's going on, guys?
We're getting a lot of hearts and 100%. I mean, that's cool. You can always just smash the heart button. I don't know if the algorithm uses that, or like the party button. I don't know. It's whatever.
Well, let's move on to security. And we got an interesting one here, because I love that the fact that we're going to have the next story right on the heels of this, because this is just a company getting embarrassed and taking a half step back, but not really.
License plate camera company halts cooperation with federal agencies. This is Flock, of course. There's another YouTuber that did a video about doing like stochastic interference and making it so these things don't work quite as well, because he also exposed a bunch of stuff that's going on with law enforcement and everything else. And then all of a sudden, this company panicked and said, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. But like Home Depot and Lowe's with the cameras in their parking lots, and then not good. It's going to be exactly like the Ring doorbells, where it's like, oh, we're not sending that to law enforcement. And then 3 weeks later, it's like, oh, nothing changed.
Well, but they are sending it to law enforcement. Don't get that mistaken. It's only ICE that they will stop doing business with.
Oh,
other police, and I think other feds too.
And they didn't say it, but they were also pretty careful about like, hey, if Home Depot wants to share their data with law enforcement, who are we to stop them? That's their data.
And you remember the story about they were trying to get some kind of data and they wouldn't do it because it was illegal. I think it was ICE. And they were like, oh, just write something else on there. And then, or call the local cops and let them pull it.
Yeah.
And everybody helped each other because, the thin blue line and everything. But how could that situation, maybe it's going to get a fraction better for a small amount of time, but how could it get infinitely worse? How could we expand that spy network to literally be everywhere and mobile?
License plate reader company seeks partnership with dashcam company, which isn't scary at all. So this dashcam company uploads your footage to the web to make it a little bit easier and more accessible, but then they have access to it. They can run analytics on it. And yeah, Flock wants access to that. Flock wants access to any camera at all that can be deployed there, and they're willing to pay for it.
So it's not just the interstates and the bridges and the toll booths and Lowe's and Home Depot and every other parking lot. Now, just people who aren't smart enough to buy the right kind of dash cam will become spy nodes. Oh. And I didn't keep up with this one very much. This is kind of a wrap up. And I got to say, Fox 5 Vegas found a guy who said absolutely nothing in his interview. He gave no details about anything. But Las Vegas did get cyber hacked pretty brutally this week.
Las Vegas cybersecurity expert shares insight following statewide cyber attack. And there wasn't really a lot of insights here other than it might be ransomware, but there's not really a lot of evidence that it's ransomware. It might be a nation state hacker, but there's not really a lot of evidence that it's a nation state hacker. Are you in Vegas? Did you experience this? Can you engage and let us know what your experiences were in trying to use, the Nevada government websites to do various things?
And let's run through our usual just cluster of breaches that have happened this week.
Farmers Insurance data breach impacts 1.1 million people after a Salesforce attack. Salesforce. It's like, yeah, they were using Salesforce. They uploaded all their stuff into Salesforce. They didn't really secure Salesforce correctly. And then, that wasn't good.
So the Salesforce attacks continue, or at least they continue to report them. And then we have this one.
Colt confirms customer data stolen as a Warlock ransomware auctions the files.
They did not pay the ransom. So they got burned on that one. And then we have, this one affects a lot of people because everybody kind of has to use this one. You don't really have much of a choice.
TransUnion says hackers stole 4.4 million customers' personal information. They got a lot of data.
That's the credit rating, if you didn't know.
Remember Equifax? Remember Equifax? I thought that was for sure like Equifax was going to die, and they didn't die. They survived.
And this one wasn't the full user details that we're familiar with, but it's enough to maybe get some hacking started.
Over 2 billion users face phishing risks after Google data leak. This one was also Salesforce. So Google's like, we should upload our business customers into Salesforce so we can keep track of them and market to them better. And a Google employee was phished, and they didn't lock their stuff down correctly, and then it was exfiltrated that way.
And here's a confusing one because who is mad at Arch? What do you have to gain here? Do you think this is Linux Mint? Is that who's behind this?
Canonical has had enough. Arch Linux takes a pounding as distributed denial of service attack enters week 2. So if you've noticed that things have been a bit slow of late for your Arch repositories, this is why.
I just don't know what there is to gain from that. Clout, maybe. And if you are a college student right now, you might have had some disruptions in the past couple of weeks. And apparently that is getting really cheap. I can't imagine. I mean, this maybe in other countries, this is good money, but this is less than working at McDonald's in America. I guess they're just doing what they love, though. Labor of love.
This is the group that's been swatting U.S. universities. Some of the calls are really, really convincing. That one of the ones that they had was there was a call from the library, and they played shots, like gunshots, in the background of the video. But the campus police had a live video feed of that part of the library, and so they immediately pulled it up, and they were like, "We're looking at this on the camera. Like nobody's freaking out, nobody's responding to this." might be a hoax or something. And so, yeah, they didn't, before it escalated, with a lot of outside law enforcement, they were able to sort of figure out it was a hoax. But most of the time that didn't happen. Most of the time there was 100 law enforcement agencies that descended on these locations.
Also, they're live streaming this. So there are people who tune into the live streams only to try to spoil it. So one guy watches the live streams. When he recognizes where it's happening, he calls that entity and it's like, hey, you need to look at this live stream because they're trying to scam you. So it's kind of this weird, which has to be so confusing if you're one of those security workers. How long until they add that as a layer into false positives and everything? They're also using AI to change their voices, and there's a lot of subterfuge. I think they're just having fun with it.
Is that the end of that section?
That's the end of the section.
What do we got coming up next?
What was that? Security? It's robot, man.
So how is everybody on this random holiday? The Linux wars are begun. I think the Linux wars had already begun a while ago. It is sort of fun to watch Arch become the new Debian, though. Or maybe a non-conservative Debian. I don't know how to describe it, really.
Well, we have one of the first casualties, I guess, of the AI versus copyright battle. And this one didn't even go to court because, if you recall last week, Anthropic was like, if we go to court and we lose this, we will be destroyed. So they decided to take the easy way out. I didn't see any numbers here. Did you?
No.
I don't think it's public yet.
Anthropic settles major AI copyright suit brought by authors. This was, it's like you trained on every single copyrighted work that exists, every book you could get. What are you doing? And they're Anthropic, unlike Meta, where Meta just leaned into the thing and got away with it somehow. Anthropic said, no, we'll settle with you. I bet the settlement is something like you get a certain percentage from now until the end of time, but then if the company folds, they don't have any liability.
And in Japan, a very similar story.
Nikkei and Asahi Shimbun has sued Perplexity AI over alleged copyright violations. So again, it's the same kind of a story. Perplexity's just consumed everything, and it's like, you're not allowed to do that.
They didn't ask for much, though. I don't remember what the number was, but I remember thinking, wow, that was a low number.
I mean, if you suppose that
$15 million.
Suppose that you could buy a license to have every book in print from the collection of companies, and it was like $5,000. I would be tempted to do that.
Well, Perplexity is doing something kind of different, and that they're saying, yes, we will share with the publishers. In fact, they're giving the publishers the lion's share, if you trust what they're saying here, but only for a certain class of users.
Perplexity launches subscription tier for premium content. This actually doesn't seem like a terrible idea in principle. Basically, if you use a lot of, New York Times content, for example, they will give New York Times, a significant percentage of your subscription. The dark thing about this is literally the gatekeepers of the internet. The thing, you remember the don't be evil era of Google, when Google was rising and it was basically the destination on the internet? And it's like, what if Google becomes the gatekeeper of the internet? And Google said, no, we will do no evil. We will not do that. Isn't this literally that?
In hindsight, the fact that they tricked us like that was evil.
Do you think they intended to do that all along, or it was just an inevitable consequence? Enjoying the live stream. Thank you, Tastes Like Tofu.
And Anthropic, of course, what we're talking about in all these previous stories is the argument of, hey, you consumed everything that exists on Earth in terms of media, and you didn't pay anybody. Is that okay? But now they've done it. Now they've consumed it all. What comes next? Well, guess what? It's just like social media. The next thing on the menu is you.
Anthropic will start training its AI models on chat transcripts. I don't think this will end well, but I assume they were already doing this because whenever it makes a horrible mistake, I'm like, this is wrong. This is why this is wrong. This is not what I asked. This is the right answer. And then it's just like, oh, sorry. Yeah, you're totally right.
I wish they would give me a tool to explicitly do that. So it's like Stack Overflow. Let's make this better.
Yeah.
Let's improve this for the next person coming along. And one thing that does need a lot of improvement is Taco Bell, because if you recall, Taco Bell leaned fully into AI drive-thru. They said we're going to let it do the whole situation or every part of the process, and they have discovered why that's not a good idea.
Taco Bell's AI drive-thru plan gets caught up in trolls and glitches, like the guy who ordered 37,000 waters, which are free.
18,000.
18,000.
That guy was maliciously trying to break it, but some other people just accidentally got insane numbers of things and ordered weird items. So I don't know.
This is a problem that will be solved pretty quickly, though.
I saw something on social media and I wondered if it was related to this, where somebody had a delivery order that was one sauce packet. But that wouldn't have been the AI drive-thru, so I don't know. That's
an $18 sauce packet or something like that. Yeah.
And Elon Musk is still upset that his AI is not getting the clout that it deserves, and he's blaming all the other companies.
Elon Musk's XAI sues Apple and OpenAI over AI competition and App Store rankings. That's the really, I don't think that this will go anywhere because DeepSeek was number one. It's just like, he's like, but Grok is so good compared to everything else. Why aren't we number one? And it's like, do I really have to spell it out for you? Oh, do we have the story about Elon Musk tweeting at Zuckerberg to buy OpenAI?
No.
So you remember the story that we did last week where Microsoft and OpenAI were fighting, and I thought it was because of the whole, when they've got the clause in their current agreement, when they reach a certain amount of revenue, OpenAI is free. Like Microsoft gets the stuff and OpenAI goes off about its way. Elon Musk tweeted at Zuckerberg, hey, let's get together and buy OpenAI, or at least make sure that our bid is the first bid whenever that clause in their agreement happens. Thought that was really interesting. It's like, Musk and Zuckerberg teaming up.
They could not get along.
It's like Lex Luthor and who? It's like, I don't know. Lex Luthor and what was the Spider-Man?
I wouldn't put either of them on that because Lex Luthor was a genius.
I can't remember Spider-Man's Lex Luthor equivalent that was
Kingpin?
Yeah, like a Kingpin and Lex Luthor. So, I don't know.
No, I don't think those two measure up to that. And in Germany, this is an interesting one because we always hear about AI replacing the workforce and them being like, well, not really. It's going to be okay. But in Germany, apparently they have a green light at DHL because it's all boomers and they're all quitting.
DHL Germany uses AI to tackle retiring workforce crisis and boost efficiency. That might explain why I've been really struggling with DHL lately on basic things that they have not screwed up in the past.
Apparently nobody's going to be answering the phones anymore. It's all going to be AI. And some other things that you would think that's like not a big deal, but I'm sure it becomes a big deal when AI takes over. And one interesting new thing that we're getting is the large language model companies. It shows you how closely they're monitoring these things because they are discovering in real time when people are abusing the service. So don't think that they're not always watching.
A hacker used AI to automate an unprecedented quote-unquote cybercrime spree, Anthropic says. They're using the Claude chatbot to infiltrate 17 different companies simultaneously. And this is paid API access. Like they were paying a lot of money to run these tokens and run this scam.
Even down to choosing the targets, apparently. Full spectrum hacking from Claude. It would be a commercial if it were not so embarrassing for that to have happened.
I bet there's a bunch of intelligence services somewhere taking notes. It's like, can we have a copy of Claude that's running in our own data center somewhere, please? Thank you.
And you can finally get your hands on this. It was running in some like specific places, but now it is actually open to everybody in the deep whatever it's called, Google Studio.
Google improves Gemini AI image editing with a Nano Banana model. Now, we covered Nano Banana last week, but now everybody's got access to Nano Banana in Gemini, which is actually a surprisingly good. It is shockingly good about just doing random things. Like, here's an old black and white family photo. Can you make that color? And it's like, boop, there you go. It is shockingly good at lots of things.
Got to time this headline. Thanks, Washington Post, for such an aggressive paywall.
For $65,000 a year, less something. Teacherless AI, private schools to Virginia.
Alpha School, I think is what it's called. So the idea here is there are no teachers. There are guides or coaches, I think they call them. For 2 hours a day, AI teaches you core learning skills. Man. For the rest of the day, the coach teaches you how to like not be socially awkward and how to run a business and all the things that school actually doesn't teach you.
I really got to finish. I have a video idea for doing the Vulcan education pods. I got to finish that.
And, they do these studies about what is AI doing, which, I mean, it's weird because like, hey, let's do a study. But when you can just look at the headlines, I mean, every week they tell you what AI is doing. It's destroying jobs. Guess what they found?
AI is eliminating jobs for young workers. Yeah. A lot of millennials have already experienced that. They're like, when does my career start? Because they've had like 5 or 8 different jobs, 3 years since graduating college across, 7 different industries. I don't know what to tell you. It's not good.
And another one that we've talked about ad nauseum that is painfully obvious now gets TechCrunch weighing in on it.
AI sycophancy isn't just a quirk. Experts consider it a dark pattern to turn users into profit. So yes, you should read this article, but you should start at the beginning. You should read a little book called Propaganda, which is from 100 years ago. It's when Freud figured out stuff, and then his cousin Bernays was nephew, whatever, was like, hey, what if we use this for advertising? Imagine, like, go read that, and then look at how that developed over the past century, and then be horrified that now this is basically the crack cocaine version of what was in propaganda.
And yeah, it's telling you what you want to hear. You think you're coming up with these great ideas because AI is confirming what you're saying? It's just telling you what you want to hear. That's all it's ever going to do.
It's telling you what you want to hear and also subtly manipulating on a trajectory, which is exactly what propaganda was about. And the really horrifying thing about the propaganda book is how upbeat it is.
He was proud. And AI, people who fall in love with AI, well, guess what? AI detects that you want to fall in love, and it takes you there. And people preferred it. We learned with ChatGPT 5 that when they took that out of it, people became upset. They love that. They want their narcissism to be stroked. And apparently, they want AI slop more than regular stuff.
Oh, great. Readers preferred AI written short stories over one of my favorite authors in a blind test.
So this author, he said, I'm curious. I've written a short story. I've got some of my author friends to write short stories, and there's an AI one in here. Rank them. Guess what ranked number 1? And here's an insane idea that someone came up with and like, you know what? I think I could sell that. And they did. And this is the future.
Florida schools introducing armed drones that respond to shootings within seconds.
How long until this responds to something less than a shooting?
Immediately.
A fist fight.
Yeah.
Now, these are less lethal. These are paintball guns, I believe. And it's a swarm. So they're designed to immediately scramble. They have certain speeds that they can fly indoors.
I don't understand why this would be less expensive or less complicated than just the trope on Star Trek was neurozine gas. It's like, but some kind of a thing where you hit the button and then just everybody's asleep.
There could be some complications there. There might be some students who wouldn't respond well to the gas. Could be some students who didn't wake up.
I think there are going to be a lot of students who don't respond well to the pepper balls.
Well, yeah, but the scope is so much smaller. Hopefully one classroom versus the entire school going into defib. And moving on to some physical robots. This is not necessarily a physical robot, but it's probably going to be in damn near all of them going forward.
Nvidia's new robot brain goes on sale for $34.99 as the company targets robotics for growth. This is the Nvidia Jetson. We did a video on this. It is surprisingly powerful. I think that the thing that is far more interesting than the robot is that Nvidia also simultaneously rolled out an ecosystem, a software ecosystem. They have got a blueprint system that is basically paint by numbers for robots and machine intelligence. You could, as a junior programmer, you could build a vision system robot that could help you do quality control on a machine line, or help you sort parts, or help you fetch things from a bin. I could run like 2/3 of the Amazon warehouse from the interface that one of these Jetson things gives you with the blueprint interface. It's the hardware doesn't matter as much as the software ecosystem. The software ecosystem is mind-blowing. And the fact that it all runs locally, but it can reach out to the cloud for anything more complicated that it needs, is also going to be kind of transformational, I think.
And drone delivery, everybody's got different ideas. Some people wanted to fly. Some people want to bipedal robots to run it up to your house. These guys have a more realistic, maybe, plan for theirs.
New delivery robot will bring the entire grocery store to you. So this is a giant refrigerated RoboMart, as the subheadline calls it. And everybody in your neighborhood orders groceries, and everybody's order is loaded onto the refrigerated truck, and then boom, there you go. This is way more efficient than one-off deliveries.
Problem with this is it says it only goes 35 miles an hour.
They can probably fix that.
Which, no, they did that on purpose. So, like, that's great for a subdivision, but then when you need to get back out onto the road, that's going to be infuriating.
Yeah. Still probably takes less time than...
No, it's not about the people getting the groceries. It's about the other people on the road who are behind this thing. Yeah. I don't want that.
I was thinking of it when they said it was 35 miles an hour all the time. I was like, oh, okay, so it's a robotic Schwann's truck. That's what happened.
But the Schwann's truck can get up to the highway speeds. It's critical. And the drone wars are, they've kicked off, and they're only going to get more extreme. And how do we fight them? Well, this company might have a pretty good solution. They have shown it working, although it was their own demo. We'll see how it goes in the field.
Electromagnetic weapon zaps drone swarms in seconds. So this reads almost like propaganda, like, hey, China, don't try anything because we've got a weapon. I'm a little skeptical.
They showed a video, or at least some images. I mean, it's just a big tan brick, but they claim to take an entire drone out almost instantly, jamming and microwaving them.
I'd almost believe a laser more than that, or maser.
And this guy is something we've seen before, but boy, have they scaled it up and packed it full of GPUs.
Laser Weeder packs 24 Nvidia GPUs and lasers to zap your weed problem. Vaporizes 600,000 weeds per hour with sub-millimeter precision. Instant laser death for pesky weeds. This is what you were talking about last night, and I read this and I was like, holy crap, they really did scale this up to the nth degree.
Now, the problem with those GPUs, not only do they add weight and bulk, they're expensive. Very expensive.
About $3,500 each.
And so, they got a video here. It seems to do the job correctly.
See, the crazy thing, though, is that the amount of GPU required to do that has come down 10x in the last 3 or 4 years. So in another couple of years, that's only going to be a tenth as much GPU or a tenth of the cost.
Yeah. I got to think at some point, unless Monsanto and DuPont get their way.
Yeah, they're sending assassins after the team working on this.
We should be doing all laser cultivation, right?
Yes.
It seems to make sense.
That would be way healthier than chemicals and things that mess with DNA.
Unless, what if power gets so expensive because the data centers that charging it becomes an issue? I mean, you still have gas, and you could run it off a generator, right?
Solar. So just redirect solar. It turns into some sort of anachronistic solar device where like little collectors on the focus it through a bunch of optics to turn it into, it's like just a magnifying glass on a servo.
That might be a little too weather dependent. And finally, the bees, who are probably dying because of those chemicals that we're talking about. they are not reliable as pollinators anymore because we've murdered them all. So what do? It's more robots.
MIT to give bees a break with robot hazmat pollinator. I was reading this, and the whole time I was thinking, we really need to turn the AI loose with genetic engineering. I want some sort of mutant super bee that is designed to resist Monsanto.
Can't think of any way that would go wrong.
Is that how we got the what were the giant bugs in Fallout, Cazadors? Is that how we got the Cazadors? And somebody's like, I know, I'll fix the bees genetically, and then that happened. That was not fabulous.
Those things were tough.
I'm dry. I'm gonna get some water. I'll be right back.
I can't talk while I'm clicking articles. Too many tasks at the same time. Also can't see the chat. I'm chat blind through live news. It's too far away. I see hearts. Pound those hearts, chat. Never let them stop. I don't know what that is. They've stopped, chat. The hearts have stopped. Keep them going. Oh, okay. It's back. It's back. So once you do a live stream where their oxygen supply is tied to the hearts, like still give them nitrogen so they can get the carbon out, but just don't give them oxygen. And so as they get fewer and fewer hearts, you get to watch them become lightheaded. I should patent that idea.
What a miss, chat. Oh, there's lots of hearts and happy faces happening.
Hearts are critical.
Thank you for the hearts. And Ryan is a Saw aficionado. Only real fans.
Saw?
SAW? I don't know what it means, chat. I don't know what it means.
Squad assault weapon? Well, let's start the nonsense section with some good news. The cracker is back. Uncle Herschel rides again on his famous rocking chair.
Cracker Barrel says it's going to go back to its old logo amid the redesign controversy. That's Uncle Herschel, in case you didn't notice, hanging out on a literal barrel of crackers.
That was a stupid thing for them to do. They'll probably do it again, though. They'll wait till this cools down, and they'll go back to their dumb plan, because that's what modern corporations do. I'm not sure why.
I wish Krista was here to talk about how, the proposed replacement logo was something Bauhaus, and everything is Bauhaus, and we've lost our ability to be creative as a society, and blah, blah, blah.
Or I think Krista's take on it, which I agree with, was that was a publicity stunt. It was such a bad design, nobody ever thought that was going to fly. How many people do you think it was Labor Day and they're like, let's reward Cracker Barrel for giving us back Uncle Herschel?
I think if they were going to do a publicity stunt, they should have gone with like a death metal band font. And it's like, this is our new Cracker Barrel logo. And it's like, what is this?
I wouldn't hate that. Although those are unreadable is the only problem with those. Like you can't actually tell what's written on that text. And you can't actually tell what some people are saying because it's just word salad that means nothing.
Workplace jargon hurts employee morale, collaboration study finds. Yes. When I'm in a meeting and I hear words like operationalize and
verticals. Let me tell you where you can stick your verticals.
Yeah.
And Mark Zuckerberg is terraforming Hawaii right now. And a lot of people not huge fans of that. Actually, I don't even know if this is Hawaii. This is
Palo Alto.
he's doing two different places. Not only is he terraforming Hawaii, but he's also constantly constructing on his home in California.
Zuckerberg gifts noise-canceling headphones to Palo Alto neighbors. So apparently he's bought 11 properties in this neighborhood, and there's a lot of construction going on. But it's not the construction, it's also the underground excavation, because apparently he's building bunkers.
He loves tunnels and bunkers.
Well,
So does Elon Musk. All the billionaires love tunnels and bunkers. And not just them. It's becoming so popular that you don't have to be a literal billionaire to get them, just a multimillionaire.
Survival pods are here.
Come on, Yahoo.
Inside the $100,000 tech billionaire bunkers. I was surprised that you could get 6 inches of steel plate in a bunker solution like this for merely $100,000.
With the full ventilation system. And some nice internal stuff, too. And for $10,000, if you're really on a budget, you can get a panic room.
Tap Rack Stovepipe says, I'll have to watch for the replay later, but here, take my dollars. Well, thank you for the dollars.
And people are this is Rolling Stone. Now, Rolling Stone is just propaganda, plain and simple. And they hate Elon Musk. But they might not be wrong about this.
Elon Musk appears to be completely addicted to anime Gooner AI slop because that is what the AI avatars in Grok are by default. And that is what they constantly see on his phones and like what he's interacting with.
I don't know that he needs that, though, right? I mean, we've seen there are quite a few women in his life who are constantly having his children. Although it is always in vitro, so maybe he's not touching them.
Yeah, it is really weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like we need, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know about that, but I do know one thing. Will Smith has made a terrible, terrible error. Do you think he knew?
Probably. I mean, I would think that he would know that he did not, in fact, perform in front of those crowds.
That's true, yeah. That would make it kind of obvious, wouldn't it?
Will Smith will tour video criticized for featuring a fake AI crowd.
And it was really bad. I don't know how many screenshots this article had. Oh, none. But the screenshots are overwhelmingly bad. And somehow he thought that no one would catch on to this.
I don't know why, but I read this article in the voice of the Bob Loblaw guy from Arrested Development. It's like, why should you get arrested for a crime someone else noticed? It's like that's the voice that you should read that article in.
And Snoop Dogg, national treasure, he has brilliantly navigated the PR by being unapologetic and, not his past is interesting, but he can still engage with corporations. Has he gone too far this time? Has he finally poisoned the well?
Snoop Dogg and LGBTQ representation in kids' films. I'm scared to go to the movies. And then his quote makes me think that he's like, I don't want to have that conversation with my kids yet, but it was taken as very anti-LGBTQ.
Well, his kids are quite ready for that conversation. It's the grandkids, because Snoop's an older fella. Yeah, he took his grandkid to see some movie where there was a two women in a couple, but then they had a kid. And he said the kid was like, hey, wait a minute, Uncle Snoop. From what I know about childbirth, and he was like, I don't want to talk to you about that. I just want to be a national treasure.
It's like when you guys in the chat bring up awkward things like last names we can't pronounce because of the algorithm, but it's just like, we can't do that.
And here is an underworld that, man, I didn't know it existed. And I wish I could go back to that. I wish I could go back to the time when I didn't know.
The Free Press Journal here that has this headline, man plots his own genital mutilation to frame his rival in this feud. And like, I don't know. You're probably better off not having read this article.
There's some kind of, any position of power will be coveted and usurped. And this guy's the proof of that. Some people will pay any price to be in charge of something.
Thank you, Liquid Exodus, for the $7.77. The message is free, Gamers Nexus.
And in Indiana, they are having some feuds with their power company. If you haven't noticed, those bills are increasing. And in some places, they're increasing dramatically. And some people are protesting in their own way.
Indiana restaurant announces it will no longer serve power company employees. What's the sign? The sign's like, They got the, oh, I thought they had the picture.
Oh, they got the quote here.
Angelo's will not serve center point employees and those who affiliate with them. Sorry for the inconvenience, but we have been inconvenienced.
How far? What does affiliate mean? If you marry one, that's an affiliation, right?
The restaurant seems to think that they're going to have to raise the prices of their food because their energy bills have doubled in the last 5 years.
And energy bills all over are going up and inflation is hitting, although I think Japan is in deflation, but their economy is not doing well, just like everywhere else in the world. And there are some scams that keep popping up they're trying to combat.
Japanese online flea market app bans the sale of ultrasound pics because apparently women are using that to convince men to give them money.
That's an old hustle, digitized for the modern age. And over in the UK, you can't do anything without a license and without your ID on file, and they are looking to expand that.
Criminals face pub and concert and soccer match bans under new UK plans. So this seems like the social credit score system for criminals, but maybe somebody can weigh in. Like if you're a criminal and you serve your debt to society, as it were, I understand having some light restrictions here and there, but if you've served your debt to society, should you be able to be banned from public places?
That's actually the whole point. The prison overcrowding is making it so that they don't make you serve your debt to society. This is an alternative. So they let you out, but with those restrictions.
So the grannies that they're arresting for being in the protests would be forcibly ostracized. That seems counterproductive.
No, the grannies have to stay in, as well as in the special housing unit. The hole that's reserved for grannies and people with gardening implements.
Because if someone came to the pub and it's like, why does the computer say we shouldn't serve you? And it's like, I was caught carrying garden implements from my flat to my garden. It's like,
get out of here.
You get a free pint on me.
You monster. The economy gets bad and you got to do whatever you can to make it in this world, right? And some people, they're doing it unapologetically.
Bill Belichick's girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, is 24 and files a trademark application for the term gold digger. How old is Bill Belichick? Isn't he like 70?
He's well into his 70s, yes. That's not the important number. There's another number that's way more important than age. So, yeah, I wish them happiness. And Burning Man is happening. A lot of people theorizing in the Twitch chat that Krista is not actually glamping, but she's secretly gone to Burning Man. I don't know. But if she has, she's probably had a bad time with the weather.
Dust storm flips tents at Burning Man as forecasters warn of looming flood danger.
And the biggest casualty?
The Burning Man, I can't say those words on this stream. The Burning Man dome for adult activities is completely destroyed by winds. Watch his devastation as poles collapse on couches.
Some people in the comments of these stories went so far as to claim that maybe this was divine retribution for what was going on in this tent.
Somebody died also.
In that tent?
And it was a murder. It was not, the police think it was a murder, not as a result of the chaos. It was a murder during the chaos.
That's like an amazing murder mystery story.
Yeah.
What an opportunity. Well, we're all being murdered very slowly by this.
Humans inhale as much as 68,000 microplastic particles daily, a study has found. Particles are small enough to burrow into the lungs, says the report, with health impacts substantial, or perhaps more substantial than we realize.
If you're chronically online and indoors, you get way more plastics. Touching grass will actually lower your plastic inhaling totals.
Ductwork also sheds plastic a lot, which is great, depending on when it was made. Certain kinds of... did you know that the Nintendo DS, the thumbsticks were made out of a certain polymer that degrades and it turns into dust?
Great.
Yeah. So it's just... Is this the asbestos of our time?
Probably too late for us, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And here's a crazy story, and I kind of understand it, but wow, man, it's just What's going on here?
Mom's anger after funeral director keeps baby's body at home. So this is the UK. There was a funeral director that had two babies that had died, but she was watching TV with them. And
And had staged him. That's the crazy thing.
yeah, it staged them and watched. And like, I guess the parents came and they were like, "What are you doing?" They didn't understand. And so, but there's no actual crime there. There's not a thing that says this is how this has to be treated or whatever. And the person that was doing this was a mortician. And so like that was okay. So the police came and they're like, well, there's no actual crime. It's super weird, I guess, but there's no actual crime that's been committed. So,
And she said she's been doing it for years. She's like, this is totally normal. I always watch TV with the child corpses. Why wouldn't I? They love television.
Nikita's lab says trying to bring back manufacturing and the tariffs are higher on the manufacturing equipment than the finished goods. Clown world. Yes.
There could be an unintended consequence, right?
I know somebody that makes boats and they were really good at it and they've been doing it for 30 years and they literally can't get the materials with which to make boats at this point. Like they just, it's not possible now. So fun times.
Well, you just got to keep making more factories so you can make the base materials, but you can't build those factories out of the base materials because you don't have the base materials. And we got some animal stories, and this one is very, very strange. And I don't know if this is common. New York Post seems to think that it's not. I've certainly never heard of it before, but the workers seem to think that it's critical.
Trainers at the Marine Zoo take extreme measures to stop killer whale from mating with his mom. It's like kind of an Oedipus complex. And the article also explores like maybe this is like, like thoroughbred racing kind of thing where it's like, oh, we could use the material as part of a breeding program. No, it turns out the son was already from inbreeding, and so it's not particularly valuable.
Now, Oedipus, if I recall the story correctly, was not trapped in a pool with his mother. Now, this is you're not allowed to have these kinds of things where was this? I can't remember where this was, but it's illegal now. Oh, we got a picture of there's the little fella right there. They've shut this place down, and this is in France. So the French government says you can't have whales anymore. But then they were like, all right, what are we going to do with these two whales? Because we can't put them back out in the wild. And they're like, I don't know. We got to figure it out in the courts. And so now they're waiting. And these whales are just in limbo, just hanging out here. And this one has reached sexual maturity during that time.
Yes.
So
it's turned into a bit of a scandal online.
Apparently the Japanese will take it.
And apparently this is a normal, I don't know, well, my takeaway from the way that the article was worded was that the Japanese team had a lot of advice to this team as to how to handle the situation. And it was like, what? And that was some of like the controversy. Like there's some Japanese blogs apparently that like this has been a big deal for the Japanese blogs. And it was just like, I don't want to know about this corner of the internet. This is not good.
They got the tiger moms. Are we not going to have orca moms? This was a local interest story. It's a little light on details. And actually, this is not a super unusual thing for our part of the world. But it did merit online reporting, I guess.
Greatest all-time police chase, goat caught in Kentucky town. The Winchester police were involved in the pursuit of a goat. And look, they got a picture of it. So this is a goat that escaped and was running amok in downtown Winchester, a small Kentucky town.
They got him. And finally, we have a great picture to end on.
This needs to be a poster. Bear named Fuzzy caught eating strawberry ice cream, and the pics went viral. So the bear broke in, or just pushed the door. It's minimal damage, but he sampled a bunch of different ice creams, but apparently strawberry was his favorite. And they had to get rid of a few, but they had to get rid of all of the ice cream because the bear wasn't sanitary.
Yeah, anything exposed to bear had to be thrown out.
But he really liked the strawberry, apparently.
He's never going to forget that flavor. He's going to spend the rest of his life chasing that high.
I mean, if he does spend the rest of his life chasing that, then they're probably going to have to put him down.
Probably be a short life.
Yeah, because that's what it's like. Once they get a taste for trash and they won't eat regular bear food, then that's not great.
Adorable picture, though.
Yeah. So there's a link for all the stories to follow along, and maybe some kind soul will do the timestamps. Otherwise, one of our folks will do the timestamps after the holiday's over. Ryan and I are by ourselves in the office because everybody else is off for the holiday. So we came here for you, and you guys came here for us. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. We'll see you next week.